Flat performance on the local currency flat performance coming through for the overall general equity market, but we're seeing resources recovering somewhat. What is dragging us lower is the financial sector and industrials.
Yes, absolutely. The financial sectors, I think, is going through some profit taking at the moment. Leading up to the MPC, there's always some little hesitations or little uncertainties going on there. But look, if you look at stocks like Absa, yesterday they were up 2.9%, which was a very strong performance. But they have been also lagging their peers. So you know, the turnaround today is that they are down a little bit, about just about 1.6, and this is just really profit taking from that stock. And I think we're seeing it across the board with the financials today, just profit taking in time for the weekend. But you know, they've had a good run so far this week.
Okay, well, let's take a look at some of the trading updates today. We saw Mondi gaining quite a bit of ground in today's session. Says that first half profit is likely to rise by as much as 69%. Great news coming through for the paper maker. We also know that it's quite strong in the packaging sector through impacts as well. Tell us about Mondi going forward. Do you think that sentiments towards the overall packaging and paper sector is starting to change?
I think what's key about Mondi is that they really have infiltrated key markets. Emerging markets, you know, have done very well for Mondi, and we're seeing that translated into their results. They've also gone through a lot of cost cutting and a lot of consolidation in their portfolio, so we're really seeing the benefits of it, and that's why they're over 2.5%, I think, at some point today. So, you know, going forward, I think we do expect these kind of results from Mondi, and it's just really good sentiment around the PLC as well as the limited side of Mondi. So yes, very good trading there in Mondi, and very good performance there.
Enough for you to buy into the story as well. In Ntombenhle, it seems that many people and investors are still very averse to the overall paper market. Would you be changing your view in any way and actually taking the risk and buying up shares?
Well, if you want to be invested in that industry, I think certainly Mondi is the share to go with. So I don't know whether, you know, for anybody's portfolio if that is suitable, but I think you know, for an emerging market story, and to see quite a, you know, I mean, they've had quite a good run the past year, especially since June, I think it was, where they had quite a good run the beginning of June. And so I think you know, look, it depends on the portfolio manager, but certainly if you want to invest in the paper industry and if you want to invest in an emerging market company that's really doing well, Mondi is the way to go.
Well, let's touch on AngloGold Ashanti and First Uranium. First Uranium up almost 30% last we checked. AngloGold Ashanti wants to buy a 20% stake in the Canadian miner. It's going to amount to around $30 million US dollars. It seems that AngloGold Ashanti's share price is not really reflecting what we're seeing coming through on First Uranium. Looking at the deal, do you think it's going to benefit AngloGold Ashanti going forward, or do you think it's going to be more of a positive for First Uranium?
Oh yeah, I think it's a very good investment. I think the market does support this kind of deal. And yeah, as you mentioned earlier, it is really because the gold price has come off quite a lot. We're seeing a lot of profit taking in the gold miners today. You know, AngloGold maybe is not so much as what Goldfields has lost. But you know, I think the only thing holding them back today is really the gold price retreating somewhat today. However, we do have lots of support for the deal. I think you know, 20%, perhaps it's an upping of their existing stake. I'm not quite sure there, but it is an investment that the market seems to be encouraging.
Aspen is down almost 1.5% today. We know that within the generic drugs space and of course ARV space, the likes of Aspen is quite a strong player. We also know that government has been talking about perhaps the introduction of a state-owned company or entity to supply ARVs to the market. Do you think that investors are starting to take this kind of talk seriously?
Yeah, I think, you know, people are looking at it a little bit more seriously. You know, it's not the first time the government mentions such, but this week again, there was a reiteration of that statement that they are looking to, you know, have an alternative for the HIV and AIDS drugs. And, you know, Aspen has got a 40% supply contract that could be jeopardized by this move by government. So I think investors are a little bit worried about that, you know, taking some money off the table. But also Aspen today had a downgrade to underperformed by Credit Suisse. So I think maybe also people looking at that and saying, okay, analysts are seeing perhaps some supply constraints later on that could affect revenue, so taking some money off the market now.
And Ntombenhle, we mentioned the financial sector up at the top of the interview. We know that Absa has been coming under pressure, but it has been one of those stocks that have been enjoying significant rallies. We've seen the financial sector overall doing quite well, and we also know that Absa is going to be releasing results in early August. In the lead up to the release of the results, are you expecting a bit of volatility? Do you think that investors are going to start positioning themselves?
Yeah, I do expect a lot of volatility. You look, financials have not really been the focus in terms of trading this year. ABSA, as I mentioned earlier, has lagged its peers. If you want to look at specific financial stock, has lagged its peers, but we're expecting a lot of volatility. Look, we're not out of the woods, certainly, South Africans, and unemployment is still high, and credit extension has been very low. So we want to see where financials have really been making their money, and also cost cutting has been very high in financials, in financial stocks, in order to try and keep above the poverty line, so to speak, in those stocks. But we definitely will be looking at them in the sense of what other alternatives or other ways that have tried to build up their bottom lines. But it will be a lot of volatility going into there. But the other thing is that resources have been more of a focus than what financials have been. So I think when markets attention turns to financials, we'll definitely be looking at it with a beady eye.
Okay, so Kumba iron ore was down almost 2.5% in yesterday's session. It's up around 1.5% as we speak. First half headline earnings per share rallied by 40%. Operating margins sitting at 70%. So we saw quite a bit of negativity yesterday. Clearly quite a bit of buying in today's session. Do you think that with a second glance most investors are saying, well, these are good numbers, despite the fact that there are concerns about possible dividend cuts?
Oh yes, no, there definitely are good numbers. I mean, yesterday it's the operating profit up by 51% or somewhere near there, and revenues up by over 30%. Yeah, they were very good numbers, and I think investors were particularly pleased by the massive 7 billion interim dividend that Kumba declared. So we've seen a lot of benefit for that stock in terms of iron ore pricing. So the pricing side of it has really filtered into Kumba, and also maybe the weaker rand that we've seen of late has also filtered into Kumba. And I think we've also seen that Billiton, Rio and Kumba have benefited from higher iron ore prices. So it was very, very good results. And also they've said that they're going to be spending about 20 to 30 billion in expansion capital to reach production of 70 million by 2010. So it's very, beg your pardon, 2019. So it's very, very good standing there. Lots of expansion opportunities and growth opportunities for Kumba. So really very well received by the market today.
Okay, so we've also got ArcelorMittal set to release results next week, and we're also looking forward to Anglo Platinum results. By way of ArcelorMittal results, what are we expecting? We know that they have had a very tough time and still a big overhang with regards to the Sishen Cost Plus 3 contract.
Yes, yeah, the cost plus contract I think is on a lot of people's minds, and when we look at the results, I think that will be really what's going on in the background for people. And the litigation issues there are not clear at the moment; they're not resolved. So some clarity there would certainly be a plus for the stock. We currently at Nedbank have a sell on Arcelor, and I think going forward, we will just like to see whether their cost cutting or their new cost structure has really helped them, and also just the litigation side of things is what's really weighing heavily on the stock. But they're up today, so next week will be a big week for them and a big trading week for us.